Hello friends, once again welcome to Diksha classroom. In the previous videos, we are discussing different global efforts for environmental protection and climate change. In the last video, we have discussed about Convention on Biological Diversity. In this video, we are going to discuss next convention under Rio Convention, that is UNFCCC. So in this video, we are going to discuss about UNFCCC or United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The name itself is very important. Previously, they have asked questions regarding expansion of UNFCCC. So we are discussing Rio Convention. Within the Rio Convention, we have Convention on Biological Diversity to deal with biodiversity conservation and UNFCCC to deal with climate change. UNFCCC was a convention open for signature at the Rio Summit and in Rio Summit in 1992 and come into force in 1994. It's a legally binding one. The secretariat or headquarters is in Bonn in Germany. The Conference of Parties or the COP of UNFCCC meets annually. It's very important because we have discussed previously the COP of CBD meets in every 2 years while the COP of UNFCCC meets every 1 year. This COP of UNFCCC is known as UN Climate Change Conference. You would have heard a lot about this in papers. Climate change conference is going to happen. The world is looking towards the next climate change conference, etc. Those conferences are the COP or Conference of Parties meeting of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The aim or the objective of this convention is to combat climate change or to mitigate the effects of climate change. Since we can say the most important aspect with regards to climate change as of now is global warming or the unprecedented increase in the global temperature. Global warming is a significant aspect of climate change and this global warming is caused due to greenhouse gases. So the main objective of this convention is to reduce greenhouse gas. The ultimate objective of the convention is to stabilize greenhouse gas concentration at a level that would prevent dangerous anthropogenic interference with the climate system. So the main aim is to deal with global warming. Since global warming is mainly caused due to greenhouse gases, the objective of the convention is to keep the amount of greenhouse gases in a stable level. And as we have told, the climate change conference or the COP to UNFCCC happens every year. The first COP happened in 1995 in Berlin, Germany, and the recent one was in Chile in the year 2019. And see, the COP 3 took place in 1997 in Kyoto, from which the Kyoto Protocol originated. We will be studying it in later. And also, the latest one, the 25th COP, is expected to happen in 2020 in Glasgow in UK. So the first one in Berlin and the most recent one in Chile and the next one in Glasgow in Berlin. So we are going to the most important topic in the environment itself or the most important protocol coming under UNFCCC, Kyoto Protocol. As we have previously discussed, it happened in 1997, the second COP that happens in Kyoto. So Kyoto Protocol is adopted at COP 3 in 1997 in Kyoto and came into force in 2005. This Kyoto Protocol is an international agreement which commits parties by setting internationally binding emission reduction targets. So Kyoto Protocol, as we already told, UNFCCC is all about reducing greenhouse gases and Kyoto Protocol is an outcome of that particular convention. So what Kyoto Protocol will do? Kyoto Protocol will set emission targets on different countries so as to stabilize the amount of greenhouse gases. Remember, even though the Kyoto Protocol was adopted in 1997 Kyoto, the detailed rules for the implementation of the protocol were adopted in COP 7 in Marrakesh at Morocco. So these detailed guidelines are known as Marrakesh Accords. When we study in conventional biological diversity, we studied about the Cartagena Protocol. Within the Cartagena Protocol, we told that the provisions for Cartagena Protocol was detailedly given in Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol. Similarly, the detailed rules for the implementation of Kyoto was given in COP happened at Marrakesh. It is known as Marrakesh Accords. Now try to listen to what we are going to discuss, because it's very important. There are certain concept, technical terms and aspects in Kyoto Protocol which seems to be a bit confusing, so try to understand carefully. So before going to details regarding Kyoto Protocol, we want to understand 5 concepts or 5 categorization that comes under Kyoto Protocol. They are Annex 1 countries, Annex 2 countries, non-Annex 1 countries, Annex A and Annex B. So these are the 5 things you have to understand so as to know what Kyoto Protocol is all about. We will be discussing everything one by one. So first one is Annex 1 countries. Annex 1 countries are those countries included in the OECD, or in 1992, OECD is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. That's a team of developed countries of the world. So Annex 1 countries include the countries or member countries of OECD as of 1992 plus countries with economies in transition or EIT countries. These economies in transition include Russia, then Baltic states, Central and Eastern European states. So Annex 1 countries are OECD, that is developed plus economies in transition, soon to be developed countries. So these are the countries coming under Annex 1 countries. Remember, Kyoto Protocol doesn't set fixed target for all countries. It set fixed target for only Annex 1 countries, which means OECD plus EIT countries should have to reduce their greenhouse gas emission as prescribed by Kyoto Protocol. Next we have, after Annex 1, Annex 2 countries. Annex 2 countries are parties included in OECD but not the EIT parties. So Annex 1 countries are similar to that of Annex. So Annex 2 countries are similar to that of Annex 1 countries, except that Annex 2 countries does not have EIT countries. We have studied in Annex 1, we have countries of OECD plus EIT. But when it comes to Annex 2, we have only OECD countries. We have only OECD countries. So why this particular categorization means these Annex 2 countries require to provide financial resources to developing countries to undertake emission reduction activities. Annex 1 countries, they have a fixed target to be reduced. There is no need for all Annex 1 countries to provide financial support. Only Annex 2 countries, which are the OECD countries in the Annex 1, needed to provide financial resources to developing countries. So as to categorize those who have to provide financial resources as well as those who have to reduce emissions, we use the concept of Annex 1 and Annex 2. And it's also binding upon Annex 2 countries to promote development and transfer of environment friendly technologies to EIT as well as developing countries. So that's all about Annex 2. Then we have non-Annex 1 parties. Non-Annex 1 parties are developing countries. Countries like India, China, Brazil, etc. come under non-Annex 1 parties. Then we have Annex A. Annex A is nothing to do with countries. Annex A lists out the greenhouse gases that comes under the Kyoto Protocol. Annex A talks about 6 greenhouse gases that comes under Kyoto Protocol. They are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons and sulfur hexafluoride. So Annex A talks about different greenhouse gases that will be considered under various provisions of Kyoto Protocol. Remember, normally in an exam, when comes which of the following are greenhouse gases, the question will be regarding these 6 gases. Mainly we focus upon these 6 gases as greenhouse gases. Then coming to Annex B. Annex B talks about reduction commitments of parties in Annex 1 under different commitment periods. Annex B talks about reduction commitment of Annex 1 parties under different commitment periods. So now let's revise what we have already taught. Annex 1 countries are countries of OECD plus EIT who have a fixed targets to reduce. Annex 2 countries, countries of OECD who have to provide financial support. Non-Annex 1 countries are the developing countries. Annex A are the greenhouse gases. Annex B are the reduction targets. Okay, reduction targets for each Annex 1 country targets. So this is what we have already discussed. Now we are going to discuss next aspect, that is some commitment periods and Kyoto mechanisms. So what are the commitment periods, as well as we will be discussing the Kyoto mechanisms. For Kyoto Protocol, as of now, there has been 2 commitment periods. First commitment period from 2008 to 12 and second commitment period from 2013 to 20. In 2019 December exam, they have asked regarding these commitment periods. First commitment period is from which year to which year. So remember, first commitment from 2008 to 2012 and second commitment from 2013 to 2020. This Doha amendment is the amendment that has been made in the COP happened in Doha in the year 2012, from which onwards we have an extension, that is 2013 to 2020. Beyond 2020, remember, there is no third commitment period. We will be going for Paris Agreement. We will be discussing regarding Paris Agreement in another video. As per the provisions of Kyoto Protocol, during the first commitment period, 37 industrialized countries and the European community, that means 37 countries belonging to OECD and EIT, is committed to reduce greenhouse gas emission to an average of 5% against 1990 level. Remember, very important, 37 countries reduce greenhouse gases by 5% against their 1990 levels. It's very important, 5% as well as the level year 1990 is also important. So that's during the first commitment period, that is from 2008 to 12. Next we have during the second commitment period, parties are committed to reduce greenhouse gas emission by at least 18% below the 1990 level. Here in the first commitment period, 5% in the 1990 level. In the second commitment period, 18% by 1990, that is by 2012 to 2020. First commitment period was almost followed by all countries, so to an extent that was successful. But when it comes to second commitment period, most of the big countries withdrawn from the agreement, and so it wasn't successful as expected. After the commitment periods, we are going to Kyoto mechanism. As per Kyoto Protocol, there are different mechanisms that can be followed by different countries so as to make sure the greenhouse gas emission remains stable. Mainly 3 mechanisms are being used: international emission trading, clean development mechanism, and joint implementation. So we'll be discussing everything one by one. So first, remember, emission allowed by a country is known as assigned amount units. That means Kyoto Protocol will be allowing every country a fixed amount of emission unit. That emission unit allowed to each country is known as assigned amount unit. So we'll be discussing the mechanism one by one. In international emission trading allows countries that have emission units, that is assigned amount units, to spare, that is emission permitted them but not used, to sell this excess capacity to countries that are over their target. So these countries, those countries which have extra AAU, can sell to those countries which are fell short of required amount. For example, suppose there are 2 countries, country A and country B. The allowed unit of production for country A is 600 units and for country B is 800 unit. It's fixed by Kyoto. And suppose in a particular year A produced only 400 unit, which means it have saved 200 unit. But in the same year B produced 1000 units, which means it have spent an excess 200 unit. So there is 200 units from A side, there is minus 200 or extra 200 units used by B. So as per Kyoto Protocol, B has violated its committed agreement. So what B can do? B can buy this excess 200 unit from A so that they can neutralize this minus or excess 200 units. For that, B will be paying a sum of money to A. So ultimately what happens? A saved 200 with its effort and they will get money for their effort. So A is happy. B, even though produced 200 etc., they bought from some other country and they have resolved the issue. So B is happy. But when it comes to Kyoto, their total allowed target for A and B was 1400. So even after one producing more, the amount 1400 remains same. Kyoto is also happy, which means everybody succeeds or everybody feels some sort of success. That was one of the most important aspects with regards to Kyoto Protocol. That is international emission trading. Remember, there is no specific condition with regards to A or B. Whether A is a developed country or B is a developing country, there is no condition. Anybody with excess AAU can sell it to anybody who needed it. Thus here a new commodity was created in the form of emission reduction units. Now since this commodity, this selling take place mainly in the form of carbon dioxide unit, we say this as the carbon market. Here the selling is mainly taking place around the unit of carbon dioxide that can be produced by a country. So we can say it is a carbon market. Now we are moving to the second mechanism of Kyoto Protocol, that is clean development mechanism. In clean development mechanism, the mechanism allows a country with an emission reduction commitment under the Kyoto Protocol, that is Annex B party, to implement an emission reduction project in the developing countries. And such project can earn them a certified emission reduction credit, each equivalent to 1 ton of CO2 produced. In international emission trading, excess AIU was sold between different countries. In clean development mechanism, suppose there are two countries A and B. A is an Annex B party. Annex B party means those parties in Annex 1 which have a fixed targets, and B is a developing party. Once again take the target. Suppose the amount that A can produce is 1000, allowed amount, the amount B can produce is 800. In a particular year, A produced 1200. In that particular year, B is also going to produce 800. Suppose in a particular year, A is expected to produce 1200 and B is expected to produce 800. What A can do for solving the issue of excess 200, A can invest in this developing country with latest technology and they can reduce this 800 to 600. What happen as a part of this? There will be a plus 200 units present in the developing country B, that can be taken by Annex B country A so as to resolve its issue of excess 200. Finally, what happens, as we discussed similarly, Annex B country, they will not be given any money by Annex A country directly. Instead, country A will bring latest technology to country B, which will help them to reduce the emission. So country B will get latest technology, they are happy. Annex A country will get excess units so as to produce, they are happy. Again coming to Kyoto Protocol, the amount 1800 remains the same, Kyoto also happy, which means all of them is okay or happy with the plan. So when Annex B country get access to unit by promoting development in Annex B, this is not known as assigned amount unit, it is known as CER or Certified Emission Reduction Credits. That is clean development mechanism. Moving to next one, joint implementation. Joint implementation is similar to that of clean development mechanism. The only difference is in clean development mechanism, what we have done, there are two countries, A and B. A will be a Annex B country and B will be a developing country. Country A will be promoting developed technologies in country B and will get an excess unit required for them. Here it was 200. But in joint implementation, similar to CDM, the only difference will be both A and B will be Annex B countries. Both A and B will be Annex B countries, which means Annex B country will invest in better technologies in another B country and will take away the excess amount that will be saved from that particular technology. So look, the mechanism allows a country with an emission reduction or limitation commitment under Kyoto Protocol Annex B party to earn emission reduction unit from an emission reduction or emission removal project in another Annex B party. So similar to clean development mechanism, but here Annex B will be investing in Annex B party and here they will get emission reduction unit. So this is all about the Kyoto mechanism. Once again we will be revising emission trading, one party buying excess assigned amount unit from another. Remember, it doesn't says about what kind of party one is. That means whether it's an Annex 1 and Annex 2, it doesn't depend what. There should be two parties and excess AAU will be sold each other. Then clean development mechanism, Annex B country will be earning certified emission reduction unit for investing in cleaner technologies in developing countries. That is clean development mechanism. Joint implementation similar to clean development mechanism. Annex B country will be earning emission reduction unit for investing in Annex B country. So these are the three one. Remember, in international emission trading there is assigned amount unit. In clean development mechanism there is certified emission reduction unit. In joint implementation there is emission reduction unit. These three are also very important. So that's all about the Kyoto Protocol mechanisms and commitment periods. Remember what we have discussed. Kyoto Protocol, there are two commitment period. First commitment period 2008 to 2012, in which 5% has to be reduced. Second commitment period 2012 to 2020, 18% has to be reduced, that of 1990. Then we have different mechanisms: international emission trading, clean development mechanism, and joint implementation. That's all. Thank you.